Hello and welcome back. I'm out walking the dog, but I do have a lot to do in the workshop around hiking sticks. We'll be going back there in a minute. I've done the school run and I'm out having a gorgeous walk with the dog. He needs to get out. He's a big dog, you know, so it's just part and parcel of our day. As soon as I've done this, I'll be back home and straight into the workshop. But while I'm out here, there's a few questions that seem to come up when I'm out and about and I meet people and everything hiking stick related, and I'll try and run through a few of those questions before we get back home to the workshop, clear them up, and people will understand possibly a little bit about myself, the hiking sticks, the brand, and possibly how I conduct myself within this area of crafting and selling to the public. So yeah, I've got somebody only just down the road coming up with two dogs, so I better make a move before he gets overexcited. So we'll walk and talk. Now I'm down in North Cornwall and just off the high ground, the moors, but this little area here typifies lowland England. And yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Rolling hills as far as the eye can see, grass meadows with small little villages and hamlets. Everything you would typify with what lowland England has to offer. Well, the first question probably on your mind, and the question that gets directed to me when I'm out and about and having it, you know, events, you know, selling sticks and that, is, do I make enough money to make a living out of this? Well, the short answer to that is, if you were trying to follow in my footsteps, so to speak, no, you would not be making enough money in the modern day and age to pay your rent, mortgage, car loans, phones, Netflix subscriptions, your lavish holiday, or let's just say holidays abroad, you know, give your kids designer clothes and pretty much, you know, have a motorbike in the shed for a hobby, and then obviously conduct other hobbies on top of it, and a social life. No, what I'm doing would not cover that. So how does that apply to me? Quite simply, I don't have rent and a mortgage, which is going to be your biggest outgoings. And quite simply, and it be blunt, I haven't been left anything. I haven't inherited, I haven't left, I haven't been given anything. I've done the hard 9 yards, as they say. I've worked since I was about 16 when I left school, motorbike engineer and mechanic, then went and did some other manual labouring jobs, then ended up in a factory and did 27 years there. And I also did the army as well, which I did that for about 12 years in conjunction with factory work. So I've put the hours in and I've been low paid all my life, but you know, I've not been given anything. That's the point I'm trying to say or make. I haven't arrived where I am now through making sticks. So does it give me a living? In my current situation and my lifestyle as a, you know, living frugally, minimalistic, you know, country lifestyle, not doing things on a grand scale, I can just about make ends meet doing this. It's not a lifestyle everybody would want. It's not a lifestyle on some occasions. I've thought to myself, I've had a bill for drains for 900 quid because I own the house, but the services are still owned by somebody else, and I got a £900 bill. It was unexpected, and I've got to find money for that. So that was a bit of a sweat and a headache, but it's done now anyway. So the point I'm saying is, no, you could not make a living in the modern world, living a modern lifestyle with all the expenses doing what I'm doing. I can only do it because I do not have the big expenses in life, and I only have to provide my share to the household. It's not something everybody could do. But yeah, I am self-employed, and this does actually constitute as our income. So another one would be, when did I start? Like a lot of small ventures, it started on the back of the worldwide troubles. I'm going to use the word troubles, but I think we're all on the same page what I'm talking about. The worldwide troubles that affected and inflicted the world and the countries and the people within them. Basically, doing exercise, somebody saw me out with a stick, said, I like that, could you make me one? And they took my phone number, and I waited and waited and waited. Nothing materialized. They didn't get back in contact with me. That led me to the discussion with my wife. Do you think that anybody would actually be interested in one of my hiking sticks? We then obviously started online, found people were interested, and that kind of really snowballed along. And when the world opened up, we started doing events, car boots, fetes, craft fairs, stalls. We even had a stall outside our property with an honesty box, and that's how it snowballed to where I am now. And now I have people coming to me on the back of, you know, searching me on Google, you know, folklore hiking sticks on Google, and then contacting me, and then I'm doing custom orders that way, or just basically, what have you got? And I say, I've got a stick this size, with a picture of a fox or a stag. Send them a picture. Yeah, I like that. Can you send that to me? You know, that kind of operation. And occasionally through other selling platforms, eBay. We put one or two on now and again, or try to keep a couple. We try to keep 4 or 5 on that platform, so people can be directed to there if they don't want to go through Facebook and messaging and everything. We've run Etsy before, never really got on too well with Etsy, but it might be something I explore later on. But yeah, that's pretty much how we started. I do have a history. My grandfather was an agricultural labourer, always around sticks. He always had a stick in his hand. As a kid, I had them for whacking brambles and things out the way. And yeah, when I was out and around on the farm, a stick would always be found in my hand. And when I got older, when I was out walking around the woodlands and forestries, you know, even as a young man, I would have a stick I made, because quite simply, it just went with hiking. And yeah, so I've never been away from making sticks on some level, but it was more the traditional rural agricultural style. I've now moved, obviously, as you know, into the professional crafting scene of the hiking stick market, and what you see is what you get now. And yeah, that's how I arrived here. Another question is quite an open one. Where do you get all your sticks from? Because evidently, as you would have seen on some of my other videos, I've got a lot of sticks racked up in the workshop. Everything in the UK is owned, all land, and indeed what's on the land is owned. So you just can't willy-nilly just walk around cutting off and doing what you want. So that's the first thing to bear in mind. And as you would have seen in my previous videos, I'm going to locations I have permission to cut. And yeah, so quite simply, you do need permission if you're going to cut. On a scale, nobody's going to be too worried if you find a stick lying beside the hedge, you pick it up, scrape a bit of bark off it and walk off down the road with it. But as soon as you start turning up with cutting equipment and things like that, yes, you're going to seriously upset a landowner or somebody. And on top of that, you know, if you're not fully versed, you could be cutting the wrong species at the wrong time and, you know, affecting wildlife in a multitude of ways. There is a little bit more to it than just whipping out a saw, going down the road and filling the boot of your car up with some sticks. So yeah, this is kind of like a self-regulated kind of industry, but you do have to kind of like follow the unwritten rules. The other question, do I make for disabilities or impairments of any kind? I've kind of answered that one before, but it's down to insurance and the fact I'm not medically trained to make items for you. And that will all link back to insurance and liability issues. It's a shame the modern world is the way it is, and unfortunately that's just a fact of life. I have to work within those bounds. So no, my sticks are for hiking and people going out hiking. Whatever you buy one of my sticks for, you know, that's entirely down to you, but I don't make them solely for any medical or impairment reasons. They are, as it says on the tin, manufactured to go out into the trail, the woodlands and the forest and use for the purposes of hiking. So do I dabble in any other kind of genre of sticks? The simple answer to that is I have dabbled, done some canes, staffs. I don't do fighting sticks because here in the UK, anything that could be used or classified as a weapon, quite simply, is a no-no. Or if it's not a no-no, it comes with a raft of headaches associated with it. So I don't even involve myself with any of that type of thing. But then again, you know, I done like I said, cane staffs, crooks, walking sticks. You know, I've done a raft of other different styles. But there are other manufacturers that specialize in those, and they do a way and far better job than I ever could. Now, I stick to hiking sticks because if you look at my channel, I'm out hiking and that's what I use. So obviously that's what I specialize in. So it just feels more natural to me. Who knows, later on in life, if hiking disappears from me, it may be canes. But at the moment, hiking is my thing, so I make hiking sticks. And on the back of that, do I use my own products? Well, if you watch any of my videos, you will see me out using my own sticks. Currently, I'm using a bushwhacker model. It's not really designed for long distance hiking, but it's more for breaking open a trail and being in and around woodlands and footpaths, particularly this time of year when they're overgrown. But if you look at my previous video of me up on Dartmoor, I was actually using that to hike across Dartmoor. So there you go, I do use my own products. So I'm now going to make my way back to the house workshop, and I've got a raft of things I've got to start doing, and I'll let you in and let you have a little look at some of that. You know, the dog walk is nice in the morning weather like this. When it's sideways rain and blowing a gale up here, it's not so much fun. But as I said earlier, it's just something I've got to do. Big family dog, and he needs his exercise, otherwise he'd be a nightmare around the house. Would start ripping and chewing things up. Get him out, give him his exercise, and he's a content doggy. So yeah, I'm actually walking in the shade of these beech trees because, quite simply, let you have a look, that sun is getting really hot out there now, and it keeps him out of the sun. He's a husky after all. Now that's the high ground up there, and that would be a totally different experience than what I've got here in this meadow. Right, coming into the workshop, I've got the radiator off because I'm decorating our bedroom. We're starting to decorate the house, and yeah, that's taking up a bit of time as well. But getting back to hiking sticks, these three here, which is a fox, another hare looking at the moon, and a stag, they're going to go on eBay. I'm going to get them cleaned up, get them ready and photographed and on. These two here are custom orders, and that one there is a whopping 56 inches, I think. So, and this one here is also outside my, that's 126 centimeters, so they're outside our normal postage couriers, so we've got to take them to parcel force. So the customer's obviously paying a little bit more for carriage, but they've been made aware of that before they committed. Yeah, so I'm going to get these in, give them their final wipe off and put a lanyard on, take photographs and send them to the customers now. Come in, clean these up, put lanyards, photograph, get on eBay. I've got very little left here now. The 4 behind there, they're going on eBay. That one's the only one I think we still got. And I've got to start getting some more ready for next week. Second-hand cardboard from superstores. We go round late at the evening when they're stocking the shelves, and I'll get a load of cardboard to cut the expense of packing material for just when we send off to the customer. Well then guys, this is the custom ordered one that I just showed you out there. I've got a rounded crown on it with a slightly unusual forward facing top part of it. This actually is getting into the realms of a staff really, but it's what the customer wanted. This is what they've ordered, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I've polished this wood and sanded it to the point it feels like silk or satin. It is just so smooth. I mean, just running your hand and fingers over this, it just feels it's a pleasurable feeling, because it's just so smooth. It just wants to run off. I've got a 3-inch. I've maxed out the copper on the bottom at well, it's just a fraction over 3 inches. I don't go any bigger than that, but because of the size of this staff or stick, I've had to go that length to kind of balance the look of this staff out. I will obviously go with a full 10mm lanyard instead of my normal standard 8mm, because yet again I'm trying to balance everything out. It is just such, it's a heavy gauge piece of wood and it's long, but it does look nice. There's a nice cream bit on the handle there, almost like vanilla cream, but other than that it's a light coloured brown and tan. There's no markings. They wanted nothing like this. Is completely blank of everything, including my logo. I don't like doing that usually, and I did say, are you sure you don't want my logo? If somebody wants a discreet logo, I'll usually put it down here just above the copper tip, but what the customer wants, customer gets. So yeah, this is completely devoid of any pictures, any markings or any writing or logos. So yeah, I've got to get this one ready. Oh, very quickly, in contrast, this is another custom order. Obviously somebody wanted a dog there, and they got the name of the dog Sky. You can see this is a barked one. The only difference over my generic ones is the size. It's about 6 centimeters longer than what I can usually do to post off for cheap postage. Yet again, I've got a nice 2.5-inch bit of copper there, and you can see my logo down there. I've done it there. Quite simply, they weren't requesting my logo not to be on the stick, but they wanted other wording. So obviously this will mean nothing to you guys, but yeah, that's another custom one. Got to fit a lanyard and then take them indoors, which I've shown you that process. Take photographs, send to the customers, get confirmation. They pay me, I arrange postage, correspondence, send them the tracking numbers when they're posted, and yeah, hopefully it's all good from there. But as I've described in some of my earlier videos, if we ever run into problems, I will always offer refund, or I remake the stick, and obviously at no cost to the customer. Customer service is paramount. You know, in fact, that's probably more important than anything else I can do in this game. And I've always gone above and beyond on that aspect. Sometimes to the annoyance of my wife, where she says, do you really need to do that at the last part of the day now? I said, well, yeah, let's just get it done and get it finished. So yeah, I'm going to crack on now and take these in and get them photographed. Right then, guys, some of you may be wondering, where did that snake go that I was carving into a actual piece of sycamore? I've pretty much got 2 coats of varnish on it. I've painted it and I've stained it. I'll give you a quick brief why I've done it and what order I did it in. But it's going to need another coat of varnish before I can finish polishing out any marks on the varnish, and then possibly just give it a top coat. But I'll go and get it here and you can have a little look. And there you go. I've got the black zigzag markings of an adder running down it. So it's not come out too bad. I'm quite pleased with it. For my first attempt at doing a snake on a stick, as you can see, I've tried to get the patterning of the scales, and on an adder, British adder, you get like this zigzag pattern all the way down its back. That's been wood burned on, and you get like this arrow shape with a U shape running off it on the head. So here it is. And that's my first endeavour to do a snake on a hiking stick. I had to stain it because it was just too, it was like vanilla white, and it just didn't match. When I did the painting on it, it just looked like it was, you know, it just went boom, straight in your face. You want it to be, oh look, there's a snake on that. You don't want that to be the main feature, because it begins to look like, I don't know, like a bit of a blot on the landscape, as they would say. You want it to kind of blend in. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. So it was a day to stain it and let that dry. And a day to paint it and do the wood burning, obviously let that dry, and then 2 coats of varnish so far, and that's a day each. So it's 4 days in just to get to this point, and I'm going to put varnish on in a minute, so that's another day drying. So this is quite a time consuming project when you're doing carving and then painting and varnishing. You know, there's a lot to be said for just oiling it afterwards and perhaps not painting it. But I do like the result. But like I said, it's a really time-consuming project doing it this way. And I think it does look nice though. But I'm going to varnish this, and I'll just talk about varnishing a little bit as I do it. Right, I'm out here and I'm warming up my varnish. Never do this yourself, because obviously heat and varnish, they don't mix because they're combustible. I know what I'm doing. Don't you ever do this. This isn't a how-to. I'm just showing you what I do. But if you're probably better off to leave that out in the sun so it gets warm, so the product inside becomes runnier. My workshop's cold and I've got to crack on, so I'm just warming the outside of the tin up. But never do this, that will catch fire if you let it get too hot. I've just opened the tin lid to vent it, because as it expands that will pop off like a little cannon. So yeah, don't ever do what I'm doing. This isn't safe. I'm just doing it because it's what I do. This is entertainment. Right then, just have my coffee and I'll have a little chat with you guys while that's warming up. Yeah, so in regards to varnishing, and this is personal experience, If the varnish is too thick and gloopy, what tends to happen is it can form runs a lot easier. And if runs do happen or start to happen, they form teardrops. If the product is very runny, it tends not to form the teardrop. It will just actually continue running down and put a thin sheet of varnish over the stick itself as a rule. And I'm not talking about if you really saturate it, I'm talking about under normal conditions. The other thing is, if it's warm, any impurities from when you last did a stick that may have come off your brush, or particles that when you've been varnishing have ended up from the stick on that brush going back in the tin, they sink to the bottom, so you then don't transfer any of those particles over. And on top of that, the product itself is a lot easier to move around into the cracks and crevices and any imperfections of the stick that you want to get the varnish into. So that's just my personal opinion, but as I've said before, don't do it the way I've done it. It's extremely dangerous. Leave the tin, you know, in a warm place just to warm up slightly, but don't ever use a heat gun or a heat source or a naked flame to warm a tin up. It will catch fire or explode. Don't ever try it. That is a warning. What I'm doing is just like, you know, entertainment purposes, showing you how I manage the situation. So following on the back of what I was talking about earlier, health and safety and things like that, always read everything on the back of the tin, how to dispose of the product, how to clean up after yourself, and indeed the actual working conditions of how it's supposed to be used, and the temperature variance. Everything concerned about the use of this product and using it safely can be found on a tin. But that will lead me on to using your brushes. Always make sure you get as much of any dust or particles that could be settled on your brush off them. So to give them a quick flip on your hand or somewhere, just to get rid of any dust particles, because that will transfer onto your stick, and once it's there, you've pretty much got to wait for it to dry to sand it back out. Not only that, any product you've used to clean these brushes to remove the varnish, make sure there's no residue product, because that can hinder the drying process, and it can also damage the look of the varnish once it's dried. You can get different shades, and it could be like have a pearled effect. And on top of that, some parts of it might stay tacky and not go off, quite simply because you've got residue cleaning products in the brush when you started to use the varnish. There's a little bit to consider. It's not just a case of slapping varnish on. Because I've got a base layer of varnish on this stick, all I'm going to do now is just very gently give it a top coat, and that's to basically fully harden underneath it off, and it gives me something I can sand back to try and get the desired finish that I want. I may have to come back and do another coat, or I may be able to polish it out and get it to look nice on its own without that, but I won't know now till I finish doing this coat here. Right, and for me now it's just making sure I put a light coat on evenly, and I can already see a hair come off my brush, and make sure I get a nice even coat right the way down through. And straight off the bat I saw a hair. I've just pulled it out. and the varnish is flowing very nicely. The first coat of varnish you ever put on, as it sinks into the wood and it takes up all the crevices and flows over the uneven surfaces, you may have to put a fraction little bit more to take up that uneven surface. But once you start getting to the point you've built a couple layers on it, you go very fine with the applications. And it's always best, once you've applied it, to try and just work it so you can see an even layer, but don't keep working over and over the same spot. And it's quite awkward here because I'm actually having to work over and around the snake here. Right, and basically I'm here now till I've done that, and now another 24 hours drying time. People ask me why I'm not that fond of varnish. Well, it's the time involved, and I've had a lot of people ask me for my camo model of hiking stick and the candy cane stick I do for the ladies. And I am going to start doing them again, but it was quite simply I was struggling with the drying times and maintaining a constant flow of production of my other sticks. But I'm going to make a double down and make an effort to get on top of that and get some camo models done up now, because like I said, people are asking for them, and quite often they're returning customers who've had other various sticks from me, but they want a camo one. So yeah, I've got to get on top of that. I'll chat to you once I've done this because I'm getting down to my hands, so I've got to be a little bit careful here. Right then guys, look, you can quite easily see this one here is a varnished one. This is an oiled one. This has more of a shine and a sheen to it, and it really pops out. It, you know, get the right light or you know, a bit of sunlight on it, you can clearly see it shines. It's got like a sheen to it. This is an oiled one, more natural. A little bit, looks a little bit more understated when you put them side by side. Most people have moved over to this look, the more natural look. I did start out when I started crafting and doing this, you know, this was possibly my main seller, varnished ones, but people have kind of moved away from that and they want more of this. But I respond equally, you know, what people want, I do, and that's part and parcel of having some sort of success as a crafter, being able to adapt to what people are looking for, or being able to manufacture what they want. So yeah, that's the two different types side by side, and you know, pick and choose what you want, but this does seem to be the most popular at the moment. So my wife's just informed me that some money that's been outstanding has arrived into our bank account for a load of sticks we let a shop have. So that's nice. That's a win-win, isn't it? Because it's a Friday and a payday. So yeah, happy about that. And like I said, we've sending photographs off so other customers can confirm, and we can start the postage and payments you know, cycle. So that's in order, and I'm going to be spending most of the afternoon taking photographs and doing write-ups on sticks and getting them online. I understand that some people might want to see more of the crafting side on the tools and things like that. I'm just documenting and recording the, you know, the other side of it as well. There are two sides to it. You've got the administrative side of it and actually running a crafting setup. It's not just all about the crafting and producing the hiking sticks. If you want a degree of success, if I use that word, or be able to maintain a level of financial income from it, what you're seeing here and what I'm talking about is a vastly important part of it, and in some degrees probably more important than the crafting side of it, because if you don't get this side right and you don't get it to the customers and everything flow right, you're just wasting your time as a small crafter. You've got to get this bit right. So I hope you've enjoyed coming along with me. I hope you enjoyed, listening to some of those questions and answers at the beginning as well, and then following through and seeing a little bit of what I'm up to here. If you're interested in seeing me using hiking sticks out on the trail, there are videos in the back catalogue. In fact, the one behind this one, I was out on Dartmoor with a hiking stick. So you can see me using my products in real life and in, arduous and difficult conditions. So, yeah, all that's left to be said is take care, stay safe, and hope to catch you guys out on the trail.